Have you ever watched a single play completely change the mood of an entire basketball game? Not the final shot. Not a game-winning block. Just one moment that left everyone inside the arena asking the same question: how was there no whistle? That's exactly what happened when the Indiana Fever faced the Golden State Valkyries. By the end of the night, people weren't talking about the final score nearly as much as they were talking about Caitlin Clark, a painful collision, and the frustration that followed from the court all the way to the post-game press conference. From the opening tip, the game had a different feel. Golden State wasn't interested in making life easy for Indiana's backcourt. Every catch was contested, every screen was physical, every drive into the paint came with contact. That's not unusual in professional basketball. Physical defense is part of the game, but players and fans alike expect one thing: consistency. When one team is allowed to play more physically than the other, that's when emotions begin to rise. Clark didn't back away from that challenge. As she has throughout her career, she continued attacking the defense, looking for teammates and searching for openings even when defenders crowded her space. That's one of the biggest reasons she's become one of the league's biggest stars. Pressure rarely changes the way she plays. But then came the sequence everyone would be talking about. Clark attacked the basket, absorbed contact, and ended up grabbing at her leg as she went down. The officials allowed play to continue. There was no foul call, no stoppage for the contact itself. As Clark got back up, television cameras caught her limping as she returned on defense, and it was immediately obvious she wasn't moving comfortably. The crowd reacted instantly. Fans inside the arena voiced their frustration, believing the play deserved a whistle. Online, viewers began replaying the sequence from different angles, debating whether the officials had missed an important call. Some believed it was simply hard basketball. Others argued the contact crossed the line. Regardless of which side people took, the play quickly became the biggest talking point of the night. What happened next mattered just as much. Clark stayed in the game. She didn't head immediately to the locker room. She didn't ask to come out after the collision. Instead, she continued competing, trying to help Indiana stay within striking distance. That decision reflected the competitive approach fans have come to expect from her. Even when something doesn't go her way, her first instinct is usually to keep playing. Still, anyone watching closely could see that something had changed. Her movement didn't appear quite as explosive. Drives that normally began with a sudden burst seemed more difficult. Every possession looked like it required a little more effort than usual. Whether because of discomfort, Golden State's defense, or a combination of both, the game had become much harder than it had been only minutes earlier. And that was only the beginning of the controversy. As the game continued, discussion shifted beyond one missed call. Fans began questioning whether the officiating had been consistent throughout the night. Every close whistle, or lack of one, was now viewed through the lens of what had happened earlier. That's often how sports work. One controversial moment changes how every decision afterward is perceived. Clark herself didn't hide that she was frustrated. During the game, cameras showed her speaking with officials after the play. Competitive players regularly communicate with referees, especially after physical possessions, but this exchange drew extra attention because it came immediately after the collision that had everyone talking. Later, in her post-game media availability, Clark addressed the play directly. She said the missed call hurt because she felt she had to continue playing with a contusion in her leg for the rest of the game, adding that officials can't miss calls like that. Those comments quickly spread across sports media and social platforms, fueling even more debate about the night's officiating. For many fans, those remarks weren't just about one possession. They reflected growing frustration over consistency and how games involving the Fever have been officiated this season. Others pushed back, arguing that every team experiences missed calls over the course of a long schedule. The debate became one of the biggest storylines to emerge from the matchup. Meanwhile, Indiana still had a game to play. And as Clark worked through the rest of the night, another challenge was beginning to affect the Fever, one that would force changes to the team's rotations and put even more pressure on an already difficult evening. While the conversation around Caitlin Clark was growing louder with every possession, Indiana was quietly running into another problem that had nothing to do with missed. Early whistles limited Boston's aggression. Instead of attacking every rebound the way she normally does, she had to think twice about every contest, every screen, and every defensive rotation. Basketball is a game of instincts, but foul trouble forces players to hesitate. That split second of hesitation is often all an opposing team needs. Golden State recognized it almost immediately. With Boston playing cautiously, driving lanes became easier to attack. The Valkyries continued moving the ball, forcing Indiana's defense to rotate over and over again. Every possession became a test of discipline, and the Fever found themselves scrambling more than they wanted. Still, Boston refused to disappear. Every time she stepped back onto the floor, she made her presence felt. She battled for rebounds, challenged shots at the rim, and continued finding ways to score despite playing fewer uninterrupted minutes than Indiana would have preferred. That's why many fans came away impressed by her performance even in a difficult loss. She wasn't dominating because everything was going her way. She was producing despite constantly having to adjust. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark continued fighting through her own challenges. Even though her shooting numbers weren't what fans have become accustomed to seeing, she never stopped looking for teammates. That's one of the most overlooked parts of her game. When the scoring isn't there, she doesn't force every possession. Instead, she keeps searching for open players, trusting the offense to create better opportunities. Several of Indiana's best possessions came from that exact approach. Clark drew defenders toward her before quickly swinging the ball to an open teammate. She pushed the pace whenever she had the chance. Even without her usual explosiveness, her vision remained one of the Fever's biggest advantages. But basketball isn't played by one person. When your primary playmaker is limited and your best post player is battling foul trouble, the margin for error becomes incredibly small. Golden State understood that. Rather than easing off, they continued applying pressure on both ends of the floor. Every defensive stop gave them confidence. Every Indiana mistake added momentum to the home team. As the lead slowly grew, another conversation started taking over social media. This time, it wasn't about the officials. It was about coaching. Fans began questioning the Fever's rotations, wondering whether different lineup combinations could have changed the game's momentum. Every substitution became a talking point. Every timeout was analyzed in real time. Of course, coaching decisions are almost always easier to criticize after the fact. Fans see the scoreboard. Coaches see player fatigue, injuries, foul counts, matchups, and long-term health. Those aren't always the same thing. Stephanie White faced an especially difficult balancing act. Clark had recently been working her way back from injury, meaning her workload had already been managed carefully. Add in the apparent leg injury she suffered during the game, and every decision became even more complicated. Should she leave her star player on the floor longer because the team needed offense? Or should she stick to the medical plan designed to protect Clark over the course of a long season?